to Nicky Buckley, our ARI lead at UPEN.
Oh, welcome everyone. It's a real pleasure today to be chairing this launch of the MOJ ARIs 2025. Some of you may know that UPEN is very active in the area of promoting and sharing information about the areas of research interest published by central government departments, by arm's length bodies, by devolved governments and many more. So I'm glad that we have so many knowledge mobilisers on the call today, as well as researchers right across the UK. If this piques your interest in areas of research interest, do come back to the UPEN website and have a look at our ARI page, which is in with the programmes section, and you can see more about guidance and guides that we've published about making the most of ARIs for researchers who are interested, and link to event reports that we've done previously. We are building an ARI community of practice, which is for researchers, for knowledge mobilisers, and for those publishing ARIs who are interested in this way of working. This will build out of the existing ARI subcommittee at UPEN. So please do get in touch with UPEN if this way of working interests you in particular. But today it's great to have the focus on Ministry of Justice. We're always pleased to collaborate with the Evidence and Partnerships Hub at MOJ. And my first task is to hand on to Amy Summerfield, Head of Evidence and Partnerships Hub, who is going to introduce the 2025 ARIs.
Thanks very much, Nicky, and thank you everybody for joining. I can see the numbers are still increasing as we go along. So thank you all for your time. I'm really pleased to welcome you to this online event to celebrate the launch of the Ministry of Justice Areas of Research Interest 2025. My name is Amy Summerfield. As Nicky says, I'm Head of the Evidence and Partnerships Hub within the Ministry of Justice. I wanted to say thank you first of all to UPEN, Nicky and Jay for facilitating this event for us. I'm not going to take too long speaking to you because we'll get into the detail of the ARI and our public partnerships activities. So I'll soon be handing over to my colleagues in the hub, Muslaha, who leads on the evidence side of the hub, and Ben, who leads on our academic partnerships work. But I did want to just provide an overview of the hub for those that have not heard about the hub before, just to put the context of the ARI and our partnerships activities, just to put it into context for you. So a few years ago, 2020 it was, in the depths of national lockdown, we were tasked with setting up a new team with a vision to enhance the way the department, the Ministry of Justice, uses evidence, but specifically evidence that already exists, including that outside of MOJ's four walls. So to provide a better understanding of the overall evidence landscape across MOJ's policy remit. So what we know, what we don't know, where the critical gaps are that we really need to address to sort of fill the gaps and help us inform decision making to enhance what we know across different policy areas. So, but specifically to enhance the use also of external knowledge and expertise in addressing those priorities, so generating new insights for these decision making for policy and practice. So we set out to become the leader across government in strengthening our commitment to collaborating with academic researchers and other external partners to address the department's evidence needs, making sure that the work of the department, our decisions are informed by a wider range of expert perspective and informed by the wealth of evidence that exists outside of the department. So making sure we're clear that we are naive to think we know all the answers. We're not working in an evidence vacuum, and we need to reach outside to help with delivering new evidence and informing our decisions. So the Evidence and Partnerships Hub was born. Here are the objectives on the screen here, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but on the left-hand side is the more internally facing objectives, which Mislaha leads on, which is supporting colleagues to understand the national and international evidence landscape, enhancing the use of existing evidence, and reaching a shared understanding of where our strategic critical evidence gaps are. And then on the right hand side of your screen, you'll see the partnerships objectives, which define more of our externally facing work, which is underpinned by the areas of research interest, which we will pass on, which we'll focus on today. Finally, from me, we did hold an in-person event for the ARI launch. Some of you may have been there to celebrate the publication of the ARI 2020 and the knowledge exchange activities and partnerships activities that we've formed in the last 5 years. And today really intends to build upon that online launch, to go deeper into the content of the ARI itself, how we developed it, but most importantly, how we want to collaborate with partners such as yourselves in order to use it to deliver new evidence that can have most impact for policy and practice at the MOJ. So that's it from me. I am now going to hand over to Mislaha, who is going to talk you through the ARI itself.
Great, thank you, Amy. So I will be talking you through the ARI. So our ARI was recently published in September 2025, following an update from the previous version in 2020. And the ARI publication is a statement of our priority evidence needs, and it sets out where new research will have the most impact with policy and practice for the next 3 to 5 years. So I'll walk you through and briefly summarize how we came to develop the ARI this time round. So we started off by referring to best practice guidelines as set out by GoScience, or the Government Office for Science. And then we undertook a systematic assessment of the evidence landscape across MOJ's policy remit. So we really tried to understand what evidence we had, what we didn't have, what were some of our critical evidence needs and evidence gaps. Following on from that, we did an in-depth consultation with analytical and policy leads within the department to really kind of understand the evidence gaps within their policy and research areas. But we were very keen to ensure that the ARI publication not only reflected our own priorities and needs, but was also representing MOJ arm's length bodies and agencies. And so we consulted with our stakeholders from HMPPS, His Majesty's Prison and Probation Services, His Majesty's Courts and Tribunal Services, HMCTS, as well as the Inspectorate of Probation, HMIP. We also spoke to the Youth Justice Board and the Sentencing Council. So you can see here it was a very kind of methodical, very thorough approach to really understanding our evidence gaps. And so once we had drafted these research questions with extensive input from our internal and external stakeholders, we then structured the ARI in line with strategic objectives of the MOJ Outcome Delivery Plan. And that is, in summary, how the MOJ publication for the ARI this year came to be. So this is what the publication looks like. You'll see the page on the left. The document sets out our priority high-level areas of research interests as a department. We use the ARI as a basis to collaborate with academic researchers and research councils to shape external research programs in line with our evidence needs. All government departments are required to publish an ARI, and this is in line with recommendations from the 2015 NERS review, and this is our third version of the document since 2018. What I will say is the ARI is not an exhaustive list of all our evidence gaps and interests. We can't list everything, but we have attempted to kind of shortlist some of our high priority evidence needs. The Evidence and Partnerships Hub as well are not actively involved in leading this research itself. We have dedicated analytical teams within the department who are subject experts, but our role is really to kind of mobilize support in this area. And you'll see on this on your screen on the right, we have an infographic that summarizes some of the themes within the ARI. So you'll see the 4 pillars that focus on public protection, victims and defendants, legal services, civil, family and tribunals, as well as some cross-cutting themes, research methods and STEM. And I'll go through a little bit of this in more detail now. So the first theme within the ARI is the longest one, and this focuses on protecting the public and reducing reoffending with a sustainable and effective prison and probation service. So you'll see 10 circles on your slides, and these represent different sections within this theme. You'll see topics such as release, prison safety and security, youth justice, and within each of these sections, there are specific research questions. So we'd really encourage you to look through the publication to get a sense of the specific research questions. So I'll move on to the second theme. This is on ensuring timely, just outcomes for victims and defendants through a modern and efficient criminal court system. So this theme really focuses on the court system as well as victims and witnesses. Our third theme is on upholding the rule of law at home and abroad. And within this theme, we have 5 sections on the rule of law, legal profession and judiciary, legal services market, legal aid, and law tech. And last but not least, we have the 4th theme on delivering accessible and timely civil, family, and administrative justice. So you'll see here 5 different sections within this theme on legal support and advice, dispute resolution, civil court system, tribunal system, and family justice. And within each of these sections, there are specific research questions relating to these sections. So I really encourage you to look at them in more detail. So given the complex and interconnected nature of the justice system, there are several system-wide themes and issues that cut across jurisdictions and policy areas. We are really interested in them and have tried to capture them through these cross-cutting themes. And you'll see here that they range from mental health and neurodiversity to physical space to emerging technologies. And so for those of you who perhaps don't work in disciplines that might be directly linked to justice, it might be that your area of expertise is captured here within these cross-cutting themes. You'll also see on the right of this screen some of the analytical and research methods that we're interested in. These range from statistics, evaluations, social research methods to more emerging methods such as AI. And if you have relevant technical expertise, even if you might not have undertaken any research relating to justice previously, this might be a good way for you to share your skills and get in touch with us about it. So before I wrap up, just a reminder that this is what the publication looks like. One thing I will say about the ARI 2025 that is different to our previous iterations of the publication is its focus on STEM. So since the publication of the 2020 ARI, the MOJ has set up a central science office function and capability, and you'll really see this within the ARI 2025. You'll see STEM-related questions that cut across the ARI themes. So for example, we have questions on drones, questions on wastewater-based surveillance in prisons. So I really recommend you look at the publication if you're interested or if your work relates to STEM. So I'll now pass the time to Ben, who'll be talking about the academic partnerships that we offer.
Thanks, Musliha. So Amy's already mentioned about our partnership strategy and how the ARI is a great way in. And it's the key driver of our partnership strategy and the mechanisms that support it. So as part of this, we've got support for colleagues to understand what academic engagement can look like and how to go about it. We're part of networks such as UPEN and others, to allow us to go out and find the right academics, or to allow you to find us. We've got structures as part of this that provide a meaningful way for us to engage with academics, and it's focused on tangible and practical ways to exchange knowledge and expertise, such as fellowships and secondments. So as you can see on the slide, it's very much a cycle that brings evidence and expertise into the department, and obviously that will never be complete. Answering one question always leads to another. Diving a little bit deeper into that, there's a whole load of activities, both internal, external, and then for most of them somewhere on that boundary, that allow us to embed academic evidence and expertise within MOJ and within decision making. So we spend in the hub a significant amount of time at that sort of internal external interface, facilitating knowledge exchange activities such as seminars, placements, secondments that allow us to do that. So I'm just going to dive into a few of those activities now in a bit more detail to tell you about them and how you can get involved in them. So a key and regular opportunity that we provide for academics is a monthly online seminar series where we have an invited speaker each month to come along and tell us about their research. So these have been running since we published the last ARI. We've had nearly 50 of them now over the last few years. A couple of the topics that have been covered are in the blobs on the bottom of the slide. And these are a really good opportunity for you to present your work within MOJ. We typically see very good attendance at these, generally around 150 people from right across MOJ and some of its arm's length bodies to hear about these. We have currently got about a 6 to 9 month waiting list off the back of the ARI publication. But if anyone ever does want to provide a seminar topic, then if you just get in touch via the email address that we'll share, we can discuss that with you, put you on the waiting list, that kind of thing. But they are a really good opportunity to present work, and they're really valued internally as well amongst colleagues. Another structure that we have is an academic network. So when we published our ARI in 2020, we set this up then, and it's called Network. It's basically a glorified mailing list, I suppose, but it's underpinned by a Microsoft form where you can provide us with your contact details, the areas within the ARI that you're interested in researching. There's a section on methods and expertise, and then there's a final section on that has some diversity characteristics on it, because a big part of us setting up this network was because we didn't think previously we were going about academic engagement maybe in the most diverse way. So we wanted to collect some data on that so that we could see if we had improved things. But the whole point of this is if we know what topics you're interested in researching and how you're going about it, then we can filter this and find people when we need to. Often we send out mail outs just to the whole the network about opportunities that might be of interest to you. Sometimes we go out in a much more tailored way because we have information about what you're interested in and how you go about it. For example, if we're doing a more targeted evidence gathering exercise or something like that, it's possible to sign up. Again, just if we've got a team mailbox where you can request this as part of the material we'll send out after the event today. We can send the link to the form so that you can sign up off the back of this if you wish. Another initiative that we've got, one of our most significant and successful ways of working in partnership with academic researchers and funders, is via our Data First programme. So this is an ambitious data linking academic engagement and research programme that we lead, that's funded by Administrative Data Research UK. And this is a specific example of an initiative led from our sort of within the hub and also a wider team of what can be achieved when we work across and beyond government boundaries. So as part of Data First, we have linked, deduplicated and shared a whole host of data sets from right across the justice system that you can apply to use within your research. And it's being used really impactfully, I know, across a range of projects. So an encouragement to look up that. Again, we can send out links to the information required as part of Data First, what's available, all that kind of stuff with the material afterwards. Another one of our successful partnerships activities that the Hub has facilitated are fellowships and secondments. So we've delivered nearly 30 of these in the last sort of 5 years, and are part of various different schemes and programs that allow us to bring academic researchers into MOJ. They all vary slightly. So we're part of a UKRI placement scheme for PhD students to allow them to come into MOJ on 3-month placements, right the way through to 12 to 18 months secondments, where academics are embedded in MOJ teams to co-design and deliver research projects aligned with our ARI priorities. And then we have a whole other range of fellowships available that build on Data First and are there to support the use of the linked administrative data as part of the MOJ, as part of the Data First programme. But we've seen real impact from these, especially the ones where researchers are directly embedded with MOJ. They have a laptop, they have an email account, they sit directly within teams, so they're very much there in a day-to-day sense to understand how their research can and does contribute to decision making in a very sort of real-time sense. Since starting these in 2021, we've just started to see the first outputs published from some of these secondments. Again, we can share links to some of these, but just to say that does give you an indication of some of the timescales there. Even when you have someone embedded, the nature of this type of work, knowledge exchange, partnerships activity, the timescales that come with it are more on that sort of medium-term scale. Hence why when we published the ARI in 2020, we said it would last sort of 3 to 5 years. It really does take that amount of time to kick something off, get it funded, do the research, and then publish it. So like with the last ARI, this one we expect to last a similar amount of time just because of those timescales. This is just a plug for a couple of our current fellows that have just finished with us. So Rosie Meek and Susie Hulley, who have been with MOJ for the last couple of years on UKRI policy fellowships, based within the Hub, but then flexibly embedded across MOJ to work on some priority research projects. So that was just a little bit more about fellowships there. And then finally, just to summarize all these activities we've been talking about, this is an infographic that we published alongside the ARI that sort of closes the loop from the last one and describes some of these knowledge exchange activities, academic partnerships, and some of the impact that we've seen from them. So I think we're the first department to publish anything like this in the ARI space that really shows how we've used the ARI as the foundation for more activity in terms of academic engagement and what we've achieved from it. We've received quite a bit of positive feedback on this, and we're really proud of it, and we're hoping to do even more off the back of the 2025 ARI. So just a final plug, if to go and look at the ARI, the link is in the chat and we will send it out afterwards. If you're super interested, we've written various different blog posts over the years about how we've gone about our academic engagement to sort of reflect on the journey that we've taken and make sure it's as transparent as possible. There's even a podcast out there somewhere that Amy took part in. Maybe we won't share the link to that, maybe we will, I'm not sure. Or you can ask us questions today. But this is just the final sort of summary slide of how you can get involved. So you could sign up to give one of our seminars, you could join the network mailing list, you could apply to work within MOJ via one of the fellowship and secondment schemes that we take part in. Or equally, if you are thinking of submitting any research for funding that you think aligns with one of the ARIs, get in touch prior to doing that. We're always interested to hear what people are going to submit. We can provide letters of support if there is strong alignment with what you're proposing. Always better to get in touch earlier rather than later with these things. Just to plug to get in touch generally, we can provide our Hub mailbox. I think it's listed on our ARI landing page anyway. And then finally, just a reminder, about using the linked shared administrative data under Data First in your research. Or if you have any questions about that separately, yeah, feel free to send us any questions and if we can't answer it, we can pass it on to the Data First team who run their own events, more specific and more tailored to the Data First data, how to use it and that kind of thing. Right, I think that's everything.